Welcome to Ron's Hunting Supply channel here on YouTube. And eventually we're going to have this posted on Facebook. And I just first want to thank all the subscribers. We're halfway on our way to 300 here. And we've been doing now, we have just about 100 videos, maybe over a little bit more now. We've been doing it 6 days a week for about the last 3.5 months. And it's starting to work. And the way I look at it, more than just sales, we've started sending some firearms out of state, and it all comes from you folks watching here at Ron's Hunting Supply channel on YouTube. And it's more than, and we're going to prove that tonight, it's more than just sales here at Ron's. It's obviously it's sales to keep us going, but it's service, and it's also friendships with the customers. And we're going to introduce you to someone tonight that we've become friends with. We've hunted with him, we've fished with him, we've run dogs with him, and over the last 8 years we've become friends with him. And we're going to introduce him to you here shortly, and just going to tell you a little bit more about what we do, just in case this is the first time watching our video. So in the morning, Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday, we do a 15-minute video here in between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we don't edit much, but we put it live on our Facebook page, and you get to view it, and maybe even catch it on YouTube when it filters through the algorithms or whatever it's doing. So if you haven't subscribed, we ask that you would subscribe to the channel. That's a little black tab that you'll see when you close this video that says subscribe. And again, I say it every day, we don't sell your email, we don't sell your any information. We don't charge anything for the subscription. It's all free, but what it benefits you is to get our videos every day to find out what's happening at Ron's Hunting Supply. Also ask, and it helps us with everything going on in Facebook and YouTube, is to like the video and share it. And the more we can spread the news and spread the word of what we're doing here at Ron's Hunting Supply, our community and our friendship with you will grow. So I don't know how long this video is going to last, but I invited Jake over to, talk about our friendship for one, and what we've done together. But really what I want you to do is, this is going to be a hound special. Bear dogs mainly is what we're going to talk about. And I'm just going to introduce you to Jake, and he's going to tell you a little bit about himself, where he's from, how he grew up, and how he got started in this wonderful sport, this wonderful hobby of running bear with his particular hounds. And so I'll introduce you here. His name is Jacob SCHMITT, and Jake is from Evington, Virginia, and Bedford County. And we talk of Bedford County a lot here. And opening deer season with does in Bedford County is tomorrow. It's a special season that's come in due to probably nuisance, but it is not a nuisance season. It's actually a deer hunting doe only season that runs from September 2nd to the first day of archery. And so this is Jacob SCHMITT, and I'm just going to have you hear about how he got started in this, who he is, where he's from, a little bit about his family, his dogs, and I'm going to turn the mic over to him and let him talk, and we're going to just have some questions and answers back and forth, and talk a little about his bear hounds. So this is Jake SCHMITT, my friend, hunting partner, fishing partner. And so Jake, just tell me a little bit about how you grew up, where you're from, and how you got started in the hobby of running hounds.
Well, kind of grew up, my whole family had dogs. My granddaddy, when I grew up, had squirrel dogs. He had deer dogs when he was younger, but he didn't really have any when I come around.
You might have to speak up a little bit, because I don't know how good the microphone is on this.
Well, my granddaddy had squirrel dogs, and he had deer dogs in the past, but not when I was coming along. He just kept squirrel dogs and one coon dog, I remember.
Yep.
But I had an uncle, he had a coon dog. He always kept some very good dogs, and he'd haul me around every Friday and Saturday night when I didn't have school. And he kind of really got me into keeping dogs. My daddy, he had some deer dogs, had some coon dogs. I always had dogs around the house.
Nice.
And I expect I was probably 8 years old. My granddaddy bought me a squirrel dog out of Covington, Virginia, and we have a little farm. And well, I'll probably be 10, 11 when I get home from school. Daddy trusts me enough to give me a single shot 22, and I could take that dog and I'd go out and get 2 or 3 squirrels a couple times a week. Coon hunting at night, and I reckon that's where the love of dogs come from.
Nice.
From
Nice.
little dogs.
So when you were growing up and going out after school and running your dogs, did you keep that dog, and did you develop a program that you have today in that dog?
Well, Ron, I tell you the truth, the things I had back then would probably run anything.
Yeah.
We didn't have I didn't have a shotgun system at that age.
Yeah.
We had telemetry collars, but at the age I didn't know how to use them. I just put a collar on the dog and go hunting, and if I did lose him, Daddy'd have to help me find him when I got home.
Huh.
But, we always kept dogs. We didn't ever turn a dog loose and we go hunting with that dog. The dog was not the boss. The dog went hunting with us. And
Yeah.
I keep that program with me now. When I go bear hunting, I want all my dogs hunting within 200 yards of me all the time. And when they take off running, well, they might get miles and miles away from you, but I want to keep them close, and we want to hunt together. I want to spend time in the woods with the dog, watch that dog work.
Right.
And also, when you're working young puppies, I can make sure to see that they're seeing what the old dog's doing, make sure he's not out goofing off.
That's right.
I like to keep the dogs close. I think it's good to keep a good handle on them. A couple times a week, I like to turn them loose at the dog lot, just load them up all year long, just learning to load, unload, throw some puppies in the mix, get them puppies loading and unloading it. You can learn that dog. You can learn a lot from him, and he can learn a lot from you, and it never stops.
Well, you just hit probably the first nail on the head that I like to talk about. I've raised a lot of dogs and trained a lot of dogs. Never really had a bear dog, but I've raised and trained plenty of bird dogs and retrievers and what we call a hare hound, a rabbit dog in the north. But can you give, and I know everyone trains a dog differently, starts a dog differently. Can you give someone maybe here that's watching today that saw this advertised as a bear hunting podcast, I guess you would call it, and they got a young puppy, and how you've gotten the most out of that young puppy, wherever age it is, up until when maybe he was on his first track and ran it all by himself?
Well, I know everybody doesn't have this ability. I like to raise my own dogs. I don't go out and get puppies from anyone. I've done it a few times from really good dog people, but they might not train the way I do, and I never felt satisfied with that dog because I don't have the same program that man has. But
Right.
I have a little puppy. They hit the ground. I know a lot of people let their jip handle them puppies, don't touch them. When they come out, I check them out. I mean, I expect to be able to grab my dog eating and rub him on the head. We don't need no aggression.
Right.
We like for everything to be very calm all the time. We don't need dog fights. And I'll take that puppy, and about 3 months old, he'll start crawling out the dog box, out of his dog house, start crawling around. And to me, that's an important time to get sunlight to them puppies. They don't need to stay in the shade all the time.
Right.
And it's multiple ways you go about it. I know a lot of people, they don't have the ability to let their puppies run loose or have an enclosure or something. But, the puppy gets about 4 months old, he's loose at my house most of the time.
Yeah.
If I'm home, he's loose. And they start laying around the yard. They're not really doing anything. They go down there and harass the old dogs, jumping all over them, playing with them kind of thing. And pretty soon a deer will come out in the garden in the next month or something, and they'll start bumping that deer. And they'll start going off and coming back and going off. Well, that's the time you got to put them back. When he's not home the next morning, he'll run too far. You can't keep up with him.
Right.
And I know a lot of people don't agree with that. They don't think you should train on off game. But you got to teach that puppy to use his nose. And he's his own greatest teacher. I mean, going out falling in the creek, learning how to swim. I take these puppies on walks. We might walk when they're little, 3 months old, we don't walk for 30 minutes. When they're 6 months old, we might walk for 3 or 4 hours. And I don't care what they run. Just get you something. Chase a Tweety bird through the bushes. You can make something out of a dog that wants to run than it is to make a dog that doesn't want to do anything.
Exactly.
And, to be honest with you, I don't start straightening them puppies up until I start hunting them with the big dogs. And I have good luck with that. Most of the time, I don't have to shock that dog off of a deer but one time, because he sees all these dogs in the yard that he's grown up with, they went right by that deer track. They didn't pay any attention to it. I could like to take these puppies coon hunting one year before I expose them to bear hunting. I look at it a lot like a person raising kids. You wouldn't take your 8-year-old grandson to the major leagues and want him to pitch.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to take that 6-month-old puppy and there's a 400-pound bear with a bad attitude on the ground. Show me what you got. You'll ruin him for good.
Yes, sir.
And we take them dogs and we start coon hunting them. Most time, fresh night, day bump a deer. Well, in my opinion, 10 hunts. I should be able to turn that dog loose in a field full of deer, and we walk right through them, and he don't pay no attention to them. And I have pretty good luck with that. Always tone before you shot.
Right.
And before you know it, you'll never hit that shot button again. When you hit tone, he knows you mean business.
That's right.
And I have pretty decent luck, you know, if I can get them started coon hunting around 6, 7 months old, they'll be treeing, hang up coons and working tracks. And in my opinion, I like a dog that starts running a track first and trees later. I don't need it. It don't matter how many times you bark up a tree. If ain't nothing up it, it's no good.
That's right.
So if he's got enough in his brain to move that track, then I know he'll eventually learn to sit at that tree.
Right.
And sometimes it takes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but they'll get the picture. And I prefer a dog, like I said, I want him to learn to run the track, pick up a loss, all of that before he ever starts treeing. In a perfect world. Sometimes it's like that, sometimes it's not.
That's right. So, I know you raise a lot of dogs on your own, and, you know, I believe that's the best way to know what you got.
Right.
Raise your own dogs. And you do occasionally outcross, and you go out and find something that's similar and to keep that line breeding going. And
you have to.
That's
you
right.
Inbreed everything.
That's right.
And mess up all your stock.
Exactly. So we know we do that, but you do breed a lot of your own dogs, raise a lot of your own dogs. So maybe there's somebody out there, you know, that is thinking about getting a puppy. And let's talk puppies just for a little bit, and then we'll move on to some intermediate dogs, and we'll talk a little bit and let Jake tell you a little bit about some nice bear hunts that he's been on. We're not going to give away any honey holes. We're not going to do that. But we're going to talk maybe about some advanced hunts, and maybe a couple in particular that he remembers quite well. And just tell you a little bit, you know, he takes a lot of people out, and most of the time he doesn't even go out to hunt himself. And he's not a guide, but he does this out of his heart. Handicapped people, young children, veterans, yeah, and he takes them out, and just to see the joy in their eyes, and knowing that whether they take a bear or not, they're going to see a dog on track, they're going to see a dog bay up a bear or tree a bear, and maybe even if the bear is right, the time is right, that they would take that bear themselves, and then they get the other half of it, where we often say is when the work begins. Dressing out and skinning out and hauling out that bear out of the woods. But we'll get on to that just in a few minutes. But Jake, if you could just explain to someone that maybe is getting a young, and we'll call it a blue tick puppy, walker puppy, or whatever, and most of these bear dogs are cross-bred dogs.
Right.
Tell them about what your feeding is, you know, what you're really doing, so they can get. You're gonna have to pardon the phone because it's gonna ring. We're closed. But the phone's going to ring, and you're going to hear my voice again in the background on the answering machine. Pardon that. But we're going to have Jake talk a little bit about raising a puppy, how he's going to feed him, how he's going to teach him how to transport, how he's going to teach him some etiquette, and really what he likes to see in a dog that is enjoyable to go out with him when the time is right. Let's let that pass real quick. You might hear an answering machine, that's all right.
Feel free to give us a call.
Okay, they didn't want to hear me, so they hung up.
Well, Ron, it's kind of like, let's just imagine I was looking for an outcross. So I'm going somewhere to pick out a puppy. And right now in my dog lot, it's 4 dogs there that didn't come from my line. They're the same bloodline as my dogs, but one of them come from Kentucky, they come from Rocky Mountain. You know, they come from way away from here, and they're going to be in the breeding program if they turn out. That's the whole reason of picking them up. But when I go pick up a puppy, and you got a litter of 6 puppies right there, and the man tells you take whichever one you want, try it out. I don't look for the puppy that's over here laying by himself, and I don't look for the puppy that's out by himself, maybe running around the yard or chasing a house cat. That's an eye catcher. You see a puppy acting gamey and you think that's the thing.
Yeah.
But I've never had good luck going that route, and I've tried a lot of dogs before I've got to this line that I want. But I look at puppies, you know, it looks like to me if one's laying out here and one's out there running around, and the rest of them are laying under a shade tree in the yard, well, use your brain a little bit. The rest of them been playing, roughhousing. That's why they're laying down.
Yeah.
You know, I like a dog that acts sociable. I don't like a dog that walks around with his tail stuck up and cocky. You know, that's just going to lead to more problems.
Yep.
And I finally picked me one out. I do prefer female dogs, mainly for the fact they don't need to pee on every bush in the woods. You drop the tailgate and they're ready to go hunting.
That's right.
And they seem to be a little bit softer. If you fuss at them a little bit, it seems to hurt them a little more. They want to please a little bit harder.
Right.
So I'll get this puppy, and Purina Puppy Chow has to be the #1 best food I've ever fed. I've tried Tracker Brand, I've tried Pride, I've tried Tractor Supply, Joy. Just Purina Puppy Chow always delivers the cleanest waste from a puppy. It looks like they grow the best on it.
Yep.
Looks like their brain develops the best on it.
Yep.
You can try Pro Plan if you want, but I always just got the standard, the green and red, tender and crunchy. That's what I like.
Yep.
And depending on what you like, if your dog comes from a big set of dogs, you know, the parents were heavy dogs, really large, and you might not want a dog that long, well, you might not want to feed him puppy chow as long. I think the quicker, if you cut him off puppy chow, you can stun his growth, make him not grow quite so big, quite so fast. And most time I'll keep them on puppy chow until they're about 4 or 5 months old. And then I'll start soaking dry dog food, and then when they can eat that dry, I'll take it. Personally, I like a good dog that's finished out 45 to 55 pounds. That's a good sized dog. He's light on his feet. I do own dogs that are 60, 70 pound dogs. You know, they're a little bit heavier. Some of them are tough as nails, and you wouldn't believe they could move like they could move. But we take off all bear season. We hunt every day. And those 45 to 55 pound dogs just seem to me like they hold up day in and day out. They're light on their feet, and they can fly most of the time.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't realize dogs need rest. No dog, I keep 2 packs of dogs on, 1 pack one day and 1 the next. If you aren't resting your dog, it's a big difference in chasing animals and catching animals.
Right.
And if you want to catch them, you got to have something that's rested up.
Yep.
Blown toe pads, you know, pads that have come off, dog has been hurt, he's a little bit stiff. Don't get that dog at the box and try to take him hunting. He might be the best thing you have, but you will end up hurting him worse than you will make him better by doing that.
That's right. Yep.
And last year, second week of hunting season, I had a bear come out of a tree, had an older gentleman, he never killed a bear. We got to the tree, he couldn't get lined up for a shot, and the bear came out the tree, and they run him about 40 yards, and they treed him again. And he got him that time, but when he come out to the tree, he jumped from about 8 foot up, and landed on, I say she's my #2 dog, broke her ribs. She didn't hunt no more the rest of the year. I mean, but why chance taking her? Right now she's healed up. We're in the 2nd month of chase season. We're halfway through now, and she's making chases and making trees and jamming up, and hopefully I get to enjoy her for 5 more years.
That's right.
But if you'd have hunted with a broke rib, or, you know, she could have punctured a lung, could have punctured a heart, or never healed up right, never got to run again.
That's right. So you got to be smart. You know, you got to be smart, and that's another aspect. And I know most of you folks that are watching this have experience with dogs, raising dogs, but we're just assuming that this is a nuts and bolts type video with beginners, intermediates, and advanced people watching. So we're trying to help the beginners as well. So a lot of this stuff, maybe you folks that have been doing this like Jake for a while, you're just watching this just to get fed. This is your hobby, and you want to see and hear and more about it all the time, and just get some different ideas. A lot of this might be the same way you do it, and you might try something new. So, and that's what we're going to try and do here on these podcast videos. So anyway, I'm just trying to think of more things to talk about and ask about. We're going to do this for a little bit longer, but let's just say you got that dog up running. We talked about young dogs and puppies. You got an intermediate dog that you think, you know, that you're ready to put him into a pack that can run alongside a bear.
Right.
And agitate that bear, run that bear until he gets sick and tired of it. He either bays up or he heads up the tree.
Right.
When do you know that dog is ready for that?
Well, they'll have a tendency to tell you. I'll tell you, 2 weeks ago I had a chase Saturday morning. And I took these dogs out, and I had 5 dogs. This was going to be their second hunting season. Last year chase season was their first bear season. And I had 5 young dogs, 5 old dogs. We went out, and man, I was road hunting them around the road, trying to keep them in shape. And they opened and went over the bank and hit. Well, them puppies were barking so loud and so much, I couldn't hear any of my broke dogs in that mix. And I was sitting there, I was watching it going. And I would see that my broke dogs were in there, but I couldn't hear them for nothing.
Wow.
But you're nervous, you know.
Yeah.
The young gun just took control. What's going to come out of a buck, a doe, a bear, a rabbit? You don't know what they're doing.
All right.
So I tried to get in front of the dogs, and they crossed the road in front of me, and I didn't even get to see what they were running. When I come around the curve, they were in the road. Well, luckily, they had got out in front of some of them older dogs. And since there was a break, younger dogs were below the road and the older dogs were above it. I heard the older dogs barking. So that made, it makes the hair on the back of your neck go down.
Yep.
Makes you feel a lot better. And I said, well, we're going to see what y'all got in the tank. They ended up running that bear for 14 miles.
Wow.
They stayed with him for 5 hours, had him on the ground. He was not a very big bear, and he had a very big core area. He would just run in about a 200-acre loop and come back, and they'd catch him, and he'd go back home, and he'd climb a tree. Didn't want to stay in it. Some of them puppies don't tree that hard. They ain't learned the treeing thing 100% yet. They slack off the tree, and he'd come right back out, chase be on again. We eventually did catch him. We got him treed. But, they kind of told me, we can do it.
Yep.
They let you know. Out of those 5, 3 of them, I think I probably don't have to worry about a deer chase. But there's 2 in the mix, just me personally. I don't know if I trust them 100% if they were off running by themselves. But 2 of those dogs in that mix from last Saturday treed a bear by themselves. Last year, the day before the last day of bear season, 250 pounds, and they were less than a year and a half old.
Wow.
They pulled off, got away from me, and by the time I looked at my box, I didn't even have service on them. And you get to wondering where they're at, what they're doing. But since they're so young, you didn't figure they'll come back. Didn't hear nothing out of them for 2 hours. Pulled to the top of the mountain, got service on them. They were on the next mountain over, 1.9 miles away.
Wow. Wow.
Took a man in there. He killed the bear. And that's another thing about it. That man was ecstatic about that bear, and so was I, but for 2 different things. He got his first bear, and them little puppies showed me we can get it going.
We can do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good thing about hound hunting. Everybody's getting joy from different angles.
That's right. That's right. And we're hoping you're getting joy from this video. This is our first, I keep calling it a podcast because we're not live. We're going to videotape this, and we're going to put it out on our Facebook page, and it will be on my YouTube channel, Ron's Hunting Supply. So we're going to move on, and and if you stuck around this long, you have a treat coming up. I haven't told him what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to cut him loose, and I'm going to let him tell you about, let's just say, maybe 2 stories. If he has one really good one, we'll do one, and then we'll tell you a little bit about how maybe you can get in touch with him by getting in touch with me. If you have a special person that would like to experience this, veteran, handicap, just a young person, old person, anyone that would just like to do this, if they've never done it, or maybe they like to do it and they'd like to do it again, we can set you up and put you in contact with Jake at the end of this video. So hang on, we're going to get there eventually. But what I'm going to ask him now is something that I know he's really proud of speaking, and he may have to think for just a few seconds about what story he wants to tell. Now, I've heard a lot of stories from him when he comes in the shop, and we have bear hunters in and out of here. We have young people in and out of here that want to learn the game, the hobby, the sport. And he was in today, and it was about 35, 45 minutes. Had a young man in here very interested in learning, and the 2 of them are going to get together, and who knows what will happen out of it. For one thing, friendships do happen. This is the liberals got us labeled wrong. We're not terrorists. we're just trying to continue doing what our founding fathers in America have done for centuries. And that's what we continue to do, because our fathers, our uncles, our grandfathers, great-grandfathers, this is what they have done over a couple centuries of life. So we are Second Amendment people here.
Oh, yeah.
We love it. We have the right to love it because we're American men and women that are constitutional type people, and that Bill of Rights, that Second Amendment, protects that First Amendment, and that's what we stand for. So yes, we are conservatives, and we're not going to get into politics here, but I just want to just make that very clear that we're American men and women that love the outdoors, hunting and fishing, hiking, kayaking, whatever we're doing, boating, maybe just going out and just hanging out and hugging up against a tree. And that's in a good way, being a tree hugger.
Just
we
listen
love
to that dog work.
Yes, listening to the dog work. You know, listen to a turkey gobble, knowing he's gone to roost. All the other aspects of what God, our Creator, has given us outside these doors that we need to get out more and enjoy more. So off that bandwagon, I'm going to continue to let him take the camera, and I'm going to ask him just to think for a moment, and I'm sure he's had time now, about that special hunt with that special person that he'll always remember for the rest of his life, that's true to him in his heart and in his mind, and really meant something to that person, whoever it was.
Well, it'd probably be easier for me to talk about a good dog than it would be a good hunt, because there's a lot of good hunts come and go. I would have to say probably one of my favorite hunts was, it's been a couple of years ago, was with my daddy, and we went hunting one way. It was opening morning of mountain season, and I went in from one point, some buddies went in from another point. We was all just going to hunt the same mountain from 3 different sides. And I had just got out of control. And Jody, I tried to talk about Jody some in this video. She was a once-in-a-lifetime dog. She passed away way before she should have. But anyway, Jody hit, and she took off on up the mountain, and she went on out of hand. She went over top. And I radioed to the boys. I said, Jody ought to be coming your way. And they said they heard her for a minute and then didn't hear anything else. Well, I had to roll 2 ridges and got over, and I could hear her. She was barking at a bear on the ground by herself. Now, one thing about opening day, it's more bears opening day than any day of hunting season, because they get killed every day after.
Right.
Well, Molly, who was Jody's sister, had started taking Jody's track, going her direction, eventually caught up to her, and a puppy that I had out of Molly. The other 8 dogs I was hunting that morning had blowed around the left side of the mountain and got treed over there, pretty close to where a buddy of mine was at, and he brought a boy that he had gone with him in that day, and they killed that bear. I think about 160-pound bear. They ended up knocking him out. And that's a good thing about good friendships. They made sure my dogs was tied back. All the dogs are safe. Nothing's hurt. They called, made sure it was no problem. They knocked the bear out, took him off the mountain, brought my dogs out. It was nice. But anyway, Jody, she was going in and out of hands, barking at this bear. Molly caught up, Chief caught up. Man, they was really throwing down with him. So I started going to him and seen the bear, looking from one ridge to another. He was going through a rock slide. And I said, man, that's a right nice one. I called on the radio. And anyway, 5 hours later, she was still barking at this bear on the ground. Now, this is opening day of the mountain season, so we've already been hunting for 6 days in the flatlands before. These dogs are a little bit tired. They're not wide open.
Huh.
Well, we hit about the 7-hour mark, and Daddy got up in the National Forest and got on that line that bear was walking. He got in front of him with the GPS. Well, anyway, the bear come right around by him. He shot him, killed him. I was about 3/4 of a mile away from him. And he said, you need to come on over here. Jody done got hurt. Jody won't scared of anything. She'd have probably jumped into a wood chipper if you'd allowed her. But she was one of the better, colder nosed, honest rigging, naturally straight. When you turn her loose, she's going to catch a bear. That was her goal. So I went over to him. Bear weighed 270 pounds.
Wow.
Nice bear. And Jody's hip joint and pelvis were out of her skin. That bear had split her open at some point during that day. But she never quit. You can't, that's not trainable. People think we force these dogs to do that. She could have come to me with her tail tucked at any time. I'd have thrown it on my back and we'd have went straight to the vet.
That's right.
And you can't force them dogs to hunt.
Nope.
They want to go more than anything. So I took her on, We got the bear out. I took her to the vet, got her stitched up. Vet said, let everything sit for 7 days. Don't turn her loose. And I said, that'll be fine. Well, that was probably one of my most memorable hunts. To have a dog with that much heart and grit, want to stay and keep going.
Wow.
So I ended up, 7 days later, I turned her loose again. 4
After
hours.
she had been cut open.
Yep, she
Oof.
got her stitches took out. Vet told me 7 days. So 7 days went by. 7 days. That Saturday I turned her loose again. 4 hours later we were back in the vet.
Wow.
Just having a bad run. I've gone years and never had to go see the vet. She was just getting the short end of the deal.
Wow.
And I think she's my once in a lifetime. She just had it all together. You know, there's no such thing as a perfect dog. She didn't have the most perfect feet. Her feet would get a little bit sore. But I can honestly tell you, every morning, all 30-some days of bear season, when you went outside, she was jumping on that fence. She wanted to go. That's where man's got to have a brain. She can't take it. She's got to rest.
That's right.
And like I said, she made it to be 5 years old. And I did get 1 litter of puppies out of her. Her puppies are doing real well. They just turned 2. But I'd have to say that's my favorite hunt, and Jody would have to be one of my favorite dogs. She came out of some dogs I had before. I like Atlanta. I prefer walker dogs. It's what I found that works for me. And Ron, I don't care if the dog is pink with a purple tail.
That's
if it
right.
puts a bear in the tree, I'm fine.
That's it.
People are all breed specific. You've been coon hunting with me. You've seen my dog lots. It's every color dog in that lot you can think of.
Yep. Yep.
People that get stuck on one breed, they miss a lot of really good dogs.
Yep.
Because there's good dogs in all of them. There's bad ones in all of them.
Exactly.
You just got to find what works for you.
Yep.
You know, I have family members that can't hunt as much, and you know they only keep 2 or 3 dogs. It's just strictly for their enjoyment. They only get to go on weekends. They don't get to go put the time in like we do. Some of them, families, children. There's a lot of different ways you can go about this. I don't have children. It gives me plenty of time to fool with all my children that I got tied up every side.
That's right. That's right.
But you know, we have a lot of fun. Put a lot of time into it. Don't leave much left over at the end of the month after
That's right.
taking care of.
You know, and just to put a little bit more gravy on the top of what he said earlier is that we need to make this real clear, because I know there's a good chance that we may get hacked here, as we always do, us conservatives that love the outdoors. And one thing he said, and I'm sure most of you that love hounds and know that they do this out of their own heart, that these dogs are not made to do this.
No,
You can't make them do this. You know, I've trained enough dogs in my life knowing that you cannot make a dog to do this. If you try, that's right. They're going to have their tails stuck between their legs, and they're probably going to be around your feet more than want to get away and seek game.
Right.
So that's absolutely true. That's what people like Jake and other good houndsmen do. That's part of their breeding program too. There's a fine line between drive and intelligence, and that's what they try and come up with. They try to come up with a dog that has enough drive to always want to go, and genetically to have strong feet, bones, skeletal system, genetic makeup, but also have that intelligence to know that
I'm getting too close.
And can read the situation and back off. That saves you and keeps you out of the emergency vet. At that time of day and late in the afternoon, maybe even evening, you're probably looking at an emergency vet visit, and you're talking thousands at that point.
Well, that's one thing about it. You know, people think we don't care about those dogs. They thought the same thing about you training duck dogs. They thought they were a tool you put in a shed, you turn the on switch. They don't know you with them dogs every single day. My granddaddy told me one time when I was little, I had a coon dog. I was probably 15, 16 years old. My coon dog died. And I was all tore up and crying, and it was bad. And he said, if you don't have them, you don't have to feel the pain of losing them. But if you don't have them, you don't get the joy that comes from having them.
Right.
And, you know, like I said, it's been, knock on wood, it's been a calm chase season. We haven't had vet bills or anything. Last year was very light on vet bills. I don't think we had any last year.
Nice.
But I've also been in the point, it was one time I carried a dog 3.1 miles out the mountains by GPS.
Yep.
To get her to the vet, and she died 20 minutes after I got there.
Wow.
And she never walked on her own. 3 miles of being carried.
Wow.
And you can't say you don't care about something.
That's right.
And do that.
That's right. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to close this up, but we're going to let him speak a little bit more. I want to just briefly have him tell about the different types of people he's taken. And then we'll talk about that. And then I'll also going to give you some information, and you can make comments on this video wherever you see it. And also, you can also reach us at Ron's Hunting Supply at 434-907-5269. You can email me at ronshuntingsupply@gmail.com. And those are the two best ways to reach us here at the store. And what I'll do is I'll take your name and your phone number. I'll pass it on to Jake, and he can contact you instead of having us give you his information out here. So anyway, in closing, what I want him to do is, leading up to that, what we just talked about, of possibly maybe going with him sometime if it all works out, the communication gets together and things work, timing,
Right.
interests. I just like him to tell as much as he wants to tell about the different types of people, not specific people, but the different types of people he's taken out with his hounds.
Well, it can go so many different ways. You know, the first time I remember that I can recall really sticks in my mind taking someone was Wounded Warrior Project.
Wounded Warrior, yeah.
And I thought it'd be a great thing. I wanted them to be able to see what we get to see. And these two gentlemen showed up. They're both wheelchair bound.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was not a member of any hunting clubs. Had nowhere to take him. And those men stayed with us for 3 days. I finally got after a bear. I say this because this is funny. I finally got after one that didn't want a tree,
Yeah.
and got it to run down and cross the road so they could see it. Because those men couldn't go where we were hunting. We were hunting mountains, and there's no trails. It's nature area. You know, there's no truck roads. It's a lot of walking. Good physical shape is one thing, but with the bear population expanding, you know, we will also come to hunting clubs or hunting areas, and people ask, older people or really young kids, you know, you try to expose everybody.
Right.
But sometimes it's better if you have a place down in some flat country, you know, maybe we can drive around a bit more. Maybe we can get after a bear and then tree him, and maybe you only have 400 yards to walk to a tree. Where we hunt at, it's sometimes it's 3 and 4 miles to a tree, just depending on where they get.
Right.
Also the weather conditions, you know, in snow, and sometimes you can't even drive that close.
Right.
So, you know, we like to take everybody, we try to know what people's limitations are before we try to take them, because it was like I really felt bad with the Wounded Warriors. They weren't able to get to see that much, even
Right.
though it was a good 3 days of hunting. And I realized you kind of got to have a spot for people like that.
Right, yeah.
And, you know, some people aren't in the best of shape. Some people are handicapped. Some people have different ways they can't go. I have a young man supposed to be going with me Youth Day this year, and he only has one hand. He's 9 years old. And we have hunted together and fished together, and I know he ain't got but one hand, but the little fella can shoot. He can knock
Yeah.
some coons or some trees.
Yeah, cool.
But, you know, that's one thing you can work on with talking to someone, but also straight out front, 11, 12, and 13 miles is nothing to walk that in a day hunting with us. Because we park a truck and we try to go around the mountain hunting, and you got to come back to that truck, or you got to get picked up somewhere else. But the number one thing, you got to make sure you got all the dogs fresh.
Right.
And sometimes it's after dark. You know, hunting hours are closed. You know, took the bolt out your gun, you put it in your pack, so in case you run up on someone, they know you're not hunting, but you still going straight away from your truck, trying to get to where them dogs are stopped. All you want to do is get the dogs home.
That's right.
Every morning we leave the house, say a prayer in the truck.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep.
One thing, everybody and every dog to get home safe.
That's right.
Whether we catch a bear or not. I'll take them, all the dogs coming home over catching a bear any day of the week.
That's right. Yep. Yep. Well, good. You know, and many of you that are watching, you are probably believers. We're believers here in Virginia. Jake and I are both believers in the Lord Jesus.
Yep.
And that's another thing that we have gained in friendship, and others get together. But we understand that's not a barrier, and we just want to get together and enjoy the outside, enjoy the nature, in what we believe in the Bible has told us that the creation has come from Him. So,
well, Ron, if you think about it this way, what's dog spelled backwards?
God.
You can't get much closer than that.
You can't get much closer than that. That's a good point. Very good. So, in closing, what we're going to do is we're just going to say goodbye to you, and we're going to just let you know that this is our first video. And I can't call it a podcast because we don't have the fancy headsets and the condenser mics and everything in front of us, but that may be a day when we do that, and we'll have Jake back again when we get fancy and we get like that. But we're looking to do this again. I'm not sure if anyone is interested, maybe, if what your specialty is. Jake does it all. There's nothing he doesn't do. He fishes, he turkey hunts, he bear hunts, he coon hunts, he squirrel hunts, and he probably does more than that too as well. But if you are out there and you're here in driving distance, and you want to come in after hours here at Ron's Hunting Supply and sit down with me and take a few questions, tell you a little bit about yourself, and just like Jake did here tonight on the maiden voyage here, the first one here at Ron's Hunting Supply, and just have a good time together, and tell you the listeners, the video watchers of this podcast video, speaking about what you enjoy and what you love. That's why you're watching this video. So get in contact with me again at Ron's Hunting Supply, 434-907-5269. We'll talk, we'll set something up, and we'll get you on here. So Jake, do you have anything else you want to say? And if not, I'm just going to say a short prayer in closing, and then we'll cut you loose. We thank you for watching. Again, would you like and would you share this video? And would you also please subscribe to the channel? And we thank you, those that have.
Well, one thing about it, if we figure this out anymore, maybe we can figure out a way to put some video clips in there, and maybe your viewers will get to see some snippets.
There we go.
You might have a man come in here, big time rabbit hunter, or coon hunters, and they can add some snips. And a lot of us people, we video these puppies progressing. It's probably easier to show you than it is to talk about it.
That's right.
If we had a video in front of us, we could say, oh, we like how that looks, or that was something we might want to work on. It's nice to write that stuff down.
That's right. That's a possibility as well, and I've seen that. We see that a lot on YouTube. That's why YouTube has been such a great tool, because it's right there, it's hands-on, and we're out in the field, we're in the garage, we're in wherever the video title of the YouTube video is. So, but I want to again thank you, and Jake, thank you for coming.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
And I'm going to say a quick prayer and close this, and then we're going to be on our way. And we're going to see you again tomorrow morning is Saturday. If you're in the woods tomorrow, be safe here in Bedford County. Or if you're hunting any other place, running dogs in the chase season, be careful, be safe.
Good luck.
All right, so let's pray and close. Father, we thank you again for your beautiful creation that we have outside this door. We thank you for the bountiful blessings that you have given. But most importantly, we thank you for Jesus at the cross, Lord. We just thank you for everyone that's going out tomorrow, Lord, that they would be safe outside. Keep them safe, Lord, running dogs in the water, on the water, with a boat maybe, or out just enjoying the beautiful outdoors, hiking, whatever they're going to do. So, Lord, I just pray that you would be with us with future videos like this, and you may receive all the glory. For we thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all for watching. Call us if you have any questions. If you want Jake to contact you, give me a call at the store, 434-907-5269. Thank you very much for watching. Have a blessed day.